Hello, y'all. I am back again for part four of Living in a Spiritual Warfare. Again, this is part four of Living in a Spiritual Warfare. I hope you really enjoyed part one, two, and three because I really enjoyed part three, y'all. That was kind of interesting. And no disrespect to Mr. Robert Greene. Um, I don't want him to come after me because of his gangster views. If he want to be a gangster, that's fine. But Mr. Robert Greene's a gangster, y'all. That's it. And I, like I said, I did a video on that. Um, it was very enlightening going through the 48 laws of power. And I put that in the description. So let's move on here to part four. So, what else do I have to say about living in a spiritual warfare? So, a spiritual warfare also involves the company you keep. The company you keep will either make or break you. It's broke me, the company I've kept, because I ended up in wars with the company I've kept. Kind of like sleeping with the enemy, y'all. So, another thing, I mentioned decisions. So I went through many spiritual warfares in my life, y'all. They just pop up, when the spirit world feels necessary. And remember, I'm part of karma too. The karma, we all must receive karma. Whatever you put in life, you get back. So with with it being in that way, if you look at karma like that, so spiritual warfare, it will come from the people that's closest to you. So another thing I'm going to recommend, since spiritual warfare and living in it will always, mainly the first target is always on your mind. You got to recognize when to let it go. So, like when I went to my relative's funeral in Texas, there was some other relatives that are pretty much in no contact that was communicating with another sister, okay, and not a biological sister. So there's another thing in war. It's called being tired. A lot of times in real wars, when there's actually like machine guns, a lot of times the war stops because someone gets tired. And so I made a bold decision. There was some blocking and unblocking through social media. And I finally just was done with it. I used logic. I went back and I reevaluated some old messages, and I was already blocked. But the purpose of you blocking someone from social media is so that you're protecting yourself for when they decide to unblock you. And when they unblock you, they will see that they're blocked and you can just move on with your life. So, part of living in spiritual warfare is, if you are unable to move on from situations, you will always remain in the same war. Now, moving on from one war to another, there's still progress there, because eventually, sometimes for some people, you got to go through a couple of wars, or you will be in a couple of wars. Some of you may be in 8 to 10 wars before you're free of all the wars. That's why it's so important to learn how to not feel like you have to live in warfare. So, feeling like you have to live in warfare is also listening to people and what they say. When they say stuff like you can't plan certain things, you can't you can't stop that from happening. Things are not in your control. All of these things that people will say, these things are not true. Much of what's happened to you actually somewhat or a great percent of it could have been in your control. Because it's in your control not to fuck with narcissists. It's in your control. You don't have to be remaining in these warfares. And if you can kind of get that part under control, another warfare, phone conversations. When you got projects and tasks and things that you need to be doing, watch the phone conversations because that's where the devil really can attack you through. You got stuff you got to be doing, y'all, that you can't do over the phone. Warfare's on your time. People switching things up, okay? They not available now, but they're available during these hours. But during those hours they're now available, you at your job, y'all. You got to make your money. The warfare of stress. That's another form of living in a warfare. Not maintaining your stress level to where your stress level is almost down to zero. You got so many warfares going on. Religion. So many people are involved in religions and they're catering to these religions. And at the end of the day, I see it all the time in my community. I mean, you got people walking around, in religious attire. They're not even speaking to each other. They're not. And so if you see that activity, don't get into warfare. Because when you see people walking around in religious activity and they don't even have enough respect and dignity and you don't see them really talking, then you don't need to get involved in that chaos. That's chaos. That's not love. That's chaos. And so many people are in those situations and they're truly not getting what they need and deserve from their religions. And it's making them bitter. Now, some people are happy in their religions, but I'm just explaining to you different warfares that you can stay out of. That's why a lot of people have pulled out of a lot of churches so that they're not in warfare. A lot of people didn't even really start healing their life until they left the church. Y'all, I'm just giving you an example. Or whatever religion they were in. A lot of people were going to a masjid or a mosque. And a lot of people did not truly heal their life until they left the masjid or the mosque. Because a lot of the warfare and the attacks was coming from people that were within the religion. So a lot of people have wised up. And it doesn't mean that you leave God or you leave the Most High, but you leave those sick people, no matter what the religion is. I mean, you could be a Catholic, whatever you are. A lot of people, they just don't deal with that stuff. So, and that's a really, those spiritual warfares can bring you down all the way, y'all. You know, if you don't get that religious thing on tack. You will be under warfare when people don't see that you're heavily in religions. They'll judge. Your nature will be your nature. If someone is just they have a fucked up soul, they could pray all day, they could go wherever to do whatever activities they want to. If their nature is toxic, and that's the type of soul they have, because a lot of people don't want to accept this. The type of person you are has to do with your genetics too. It just does. Prayer don't make you not have a psychopathic brain, if that's the brain. If you have the frontal lobe or whatever they call it, I think that's the part that has issues in psychopathy. You can pray all day. You still gonna have that issue. that's still going to show up on an MRI of your brain. So some people are actually brain damaged. One of the most deadly spiritual warfares that anyone can experience while they're alive is drug addiction, eating addictions, abuse addictions. Some people addicted to kicking ass, y'all. Some men and women have never been in a long-term relationship without beating their spouse, significant other, or partner up. They have literally, it's some man right now, like, damn, I ain't been with no woman that I ain't kicked their ass. Some women are the same way. I haven't been with no man that I haven't flattened his tires and set his clothes on fire. Some people are addicted to their addictive or their abusive ass personality. Some people are addicted to gold digging, living off people, taking their money, manipulating them, and stuff like that. So those are spiritual warfares. Making a decision and understanding what true power is for us, not what Robert Greene saying the power is for the mobsters. That's a totally different kind of power, which ain't power. The only power in that is to not to join the goddamn mob and become a gangster in the first place. That's the power in that. So, real power in a spiritual warfare for us, non-mobsters, non-gangsters, the power is in understanding that your power is in not getting involved with the stuff. That's powerful. When somebody offers you drugs and you walk away or you don't accept the drugs, when you meet people and they tell you, by the way, I've kicked some ass, the power is in choosing not to date that person. That way you don't get your ass kicked. I was just looking on social media, and this was a narcissist or sociopath that got new supply. This supply lasted in this narcissist's life about, and this narcissist was a man, lasted in his life about minimum 10 years, maybe 12. You go to the supplies page, she's single now. And in this particular case, this woman really wasn't supportive of this particular man taking care of his children. And she's a single mom now. She has a child with him, and she's a single mom. And he's not really doing shit for real for that child. So see what I mean? So that's another thing. When you're living in a spiritual warfare, the universe will take care of people. Because people think they got it going on when they take your narcissist over. When you discard your narcissist or your narcissist discards you and they get with that other supply, even if it was a woman that you were with and she got her new man, they lose the supply. And a lot of times that they're not able to pull in another supply. I suspect that he eventually kicked her ass. I mean, she stood around or stuck around as long as possible. So when you're living in a spiritual warfare, you don't give these people your address. Don't be physically in their presence. Let them go on to their new supply and continue to live your life, and you'll find out later that that new supply that they kept for a very long time finally got out of there. I didn't waste that much time with the person. 12 years with someone that you're not married to, that is abusive, that can't maintain a career or job, even to take care of their damn self, that has a bunch of fucking kids that they don't pay no child support or do shit for, they don't hang out with. Um, yeah, just it just ain't worth it, you know. So let the universe take care of it. I'm finding out a lot of stuff that's been done to me. The universe took care of it. The lawyer that played a role in my divorce, he got disbarred. The judge is now deceased. Other people that could have participated in my case that caused me harm, I don't care if they was 10 years old, they're passed on. Life moves on, y'all. And you don't sit around and be happy people dead. Oh, well, I'm glad that bitch ass judge dead that took my motherfucking kids, that took my dog from me, and took my house from me. That bitch gave my car to my ex-spouse. No, you're not supposed to look at stuff like that. You just understand that the universe takes care of things. And it's just taken care of. It moves on. Basically, it's kind of like this. When you're living in a spiritual warfare, remember I pointed out that when you're empathic, the spirit is not against you. You're against you. People are against you, not the universe. They really not mastering nothing. You could take whatever kids you want or take whatever car. If it's, I'm still catching Uber, I still got some kids. You could take whatever. If it's not meant for you to just be completely emptied out and you're a good person, you're still going to have what you need. That's how it's always worked out in my life. And the ultimate, if you're considering spiritual warfare a win, you don't give a fuck about these people, no way. Some of y'all listening to my videos and getting ready to leave a narcissist soon anyway. You planning your exit. Sometimes listening to these videos is your first step in deciding that you even gonna get this person out of your life. And you're not living in anything unless you want to live in it. And another thing, don't think everything is a war. I'm teaching that to one of my youngest son. I'm teaching him that now. Don't be so combative, like just because I'm teaching him about health and stuff like that, and you know how you can make yourself sick. Stay on subject. If we're talking about why isn't that load of clothes folded, stay on subject. Don't go off talking about when you get paid on payday. Since I'm a teenager, I'm not helping out. Stay off the tangents. So a lot of times we just creating warfares. And it's so much dishonesty in this world, y'all. You know, I was watching a video. There was a woman that was on the lake or whatever with her family. She thought she was dehydrated. She drank like 4 bottles of 16-ounce water bottles, y'all, within a 20-minute period. And I'm going to teach y'all a health tip, y'all. I don't know if I've mentioned it in any other videos. Listen to me very carefully. And don't think I'm crazy when I say this. It's something that I have never heard a doctor tell me. But I'm telling you, if you want to live the healthiest as possible, I'm going to tell you this one trick that will save your life. It's urinating, y'all. Going to pee. And I'll explain to you why it's so important. It's one of the reasons I am not on high blood pressure medications. If I have to take a high blood pressure medication, it's once a month, y'all. And this is why. Because I go pee. Just go pee. Your blood pressure goes down when you go pee or urinate, y'all, because you're getting the salt out your damn blood. It's okay if you pee 8 times a day. Pee, urinate. So through watching this video with this woman, unfortunately, she got what you call it, water intoxication or whatever. She drank 4 16-ounce bottles of water in a 20-minute period, felt sick, dizzy, and next thing you know, she's passed away. May she rest in peace. But the gaslighting that this doctor did when he spoke about what happened to her, he mentioned that the pee didn't have, the water didn't have nowhere to go. Of course it didn't, because she had not emptied out her bladder. So, one of the tactics I teach my relatives, even if you do not have high blood pressure, your body retains water. Look at your legs and stuff, especially for people that got a little meat on them. Anybody, before you go to bed, you're more swollen, but when you wake up, you're less swollen. So when you're asleep and laying flat, your body is taking the excess water off of your body and sending it through the kidney, and ultimately it gets to the bladder and it's held in the bladder. So what needs to happen, that's why it's good to go use the restroom in the middle of the night. You should be using the restroom before you go to bed, when you wake up, and if you like, in the middle of the night. Because y'all, I'm like a naturopath to a certain degree. So I'm one of those people, I look at my relatives when they sleep. Okay, I check on you. If I go to the restroom, I'm going to check on you. So I see, okay, you're a little swole. Because this will happen as your relatives gain weight. You know, everybody don't stay a skinny mini. I didn't. I did not stay a skinny mini. I got some thickness to me. So when you are no longer what you call a skinny mini and you gain weight, that is the stage where you're going to gain the most water retention. Remember, your body's made of water, muscle, and fat. So the water retention is where you could lead or go to your death and you end up in a morgue, y'all. So in the middle of the night, what I do is I look, okay, my relatives are like my patients, y'all. So, and we have very good doctors, but you're like a patient. So I see you sleep, you look swole. And I taught my relative how to look at their body. See your legs a little swollen. So you notice when you wake up, the swelling's gone away because you got up in the middle of the night and you went to go urinate. And so what happens is, okay, you urinate before you go to bed. I'm going to put this video under my health tips too. So you urinate before you go to bed. And then your body, while you're asleep, begins the process of getting the water off of you. Okay, that's the water retention that all of us have. Some have more than others. You will have more of it if you have high blood pressure. You will have some of it if you intake salt. And you will have more of it when you begin to put on a little weight. And you don't have to be overweight, y'all. So it's a good idea, if you can, to get up in the middle of the night to urinate. And this is why. When you go pee in the middle of the night, after you done already peed before you went to bed, then your body will take even more water retention off of you. You gotta pee it out for your body to put more there. If you don't urinate, there's nowhere else for this other excess water to go. This is why the lady's dead that drank the 16 ounces of water, y'all. And it's so disgusting what a lot of these doctors do. This doctor said the water didn't have nowhere to go. It did. It's just she hadn't emptied her bladder out. Her body would have worked for her. And it's so freaking disgusting and narcissistic for the doctor to not explain to you what I just explained. If she would have urinated before she drank that water and went to urinate again when she started drinking the water, she'd still be alive. The intoxication wouldn't have existed. All of that existed because she didn't empty out the bladder. It's very important. It ain't no such thing as you pee too much. I was blessed with a weak bladder, and I love it because my body is always cleaning itself out. It's collecting the water, and because I got this, what they would consider a weak bladder, I've had that since childhood. I don't take high blood pressure medicines because my body is naturally getting all that water retention off of me. And like I said, if I do, I'm not crazy where I'm gonna have a stroke because my blood pressure is 160 or 140 or 170. So if I check my blood pressure and it's a little too high, and that's only gonna happen if I'm not walking or exercising properly, then I take one blood pressure pill, like an emergency treatment. So I don't have a stroke, but I don't normally have to take more than one a month. I'm just being honest. And it's because I urinate. And so just take this health tip because that's spiritual warfare too, because the spiritual warfare that we're living in is also the economic thing. You know, doctors don't want to tell you this simple trick because they want 8 more of her to come in from this water intoxication. So each one of them have a $50,000 bill. Add it up, y'all. This doctor had the nerve to say the water didn't have nowhere to go. Shit, no, it didn't have nowhere to go because she hadn't emptied her bladder out. That's why. That water, your body is made to do that. The Lord gave you this body. That's what it does. It takes water off of you. It takes the water off your body even without you having to drink it. If I go 24 hours without drinking any fluids and I go to sleep, I'm still going to have to go pee. Because even not drinking or eating for 24 hours, my body is still made of hard water. Gosh, I wish I would have went to medical school. But I would have been the worst doctor because I would have sent the hospital into poverty. Because outside of a surgery, outside of things people need for disabilities they're born with, like walkers and canes and asthma patients and things like that. But I got asthma and I'm not on an inhaler right now. I've just worked really hard. I was having a headache that was going into a migraine the other day. I didn't reach for a bunch of meds and just dope myself up. Guess what I did? I washed my hair in some cool water and massaged my scalp. 80% of my pain went away through a scalp massage. You think the freaking hospital was going to tell me to massage my freaking scalp and put some cold water on my scalp? You know how much healing I have healed and went through just from the water? Just from the universe and the Lord creating water for us? So that is spiritual warfare too, y'all, because it's on your health. While you're being told the wrong information and, oh, by the way, the water didn't have nowhere to go, like as if you don't have a freaking bladder and kidney. That's insane. So another thing, living in spiritual warfare, you got to do this, y'all. You got to listen and be aware. That's the key too. And then once you listen and you experience awareness, then you can come up with a tactic. You cannot be in spiritual warfare and have the inability to listen and process things and lack awareness. And let's get this clear. The word awareness. Awareness. We want to get this down. So I'm into looking up the word Awareness definition. This is going to be so important. Knowledge or perception of a situation or fact, or the other definition is concern about and well-informed interest in a particular situation or development. That's awareness. But it said a particular situation. You're going to become aware in all situations, just like you are now. You know that narcissists and psychopaths exist. I even made you aware about the 48 laws of power that Mr. Robert Greene did. And I'm convinced I meant what I said. I don't care if he even heard my video. You a gangster, Mr. Robert Greene. You just a gangster. So, you love your white men, Mr. Robert Greene, because you white and you a gangster. That's all I got to say. And you not poor. Mr. Robert Greene, I promise you this. He has more money than me. That's a promise. I saw his little house. He was like, y'all surprised I'm living like this. Cute little, he had the simple couch, and it wasn't all extravagant because Mr. Robert Greene done stacked his money. He did what he had to do to get his money. That's his talent. He's able to teach from one white man to another how to be a mobster and gangster. Because that's all his 48 laws of power is teaching. I don't care what you say. The photos prove it. All the evidence is there. So I was able to figure that out because I have awareness. And that's what you got to have. You're going to lose every war. You are going to lose your mind. You're going to lose your children, your property, and everything good to you if you're not aware. Remember, a lot of wars are sprung on you and blindside you. The Native Americans that originally were in this country, they claim at first, they thought for Thanksgiving they was going to be having turkeys, and they had a bunch of friends, and they thought that they was getting ready to go in businesses with people. They were blindsided. They weren't aware. They lacked awareness in the areas of weapons. They lacked spiritual awareness. I'm not really sure if a lot of the rituals that the Native Americans were doing, I'm going to just be honest, I'm not sure if that's of God. I don't know if some of that would be considered like witchcraft. I'm not sure. I just know some of it don't seem completely right. And there's a lot of rituals and things that we do in our religions that the Lord just wouldn't want us doing. And don't, if you're doing it, just learn as you go. That's all you can do. Just learn as you go. So, yeah, awareness. You got to be aware and courageous, y'all. Brave. And being courageous and brave doesn't mean you're wicked or evil. And your bravery is not going to be used to fight and harm people. It's not going to be used in that way. It's just sometimes you got to be brave enough to say, I can't do that. I can't afford that. I don't care how I may look to other people. They may think I'm just poor as all outdoors. I'm ready to save some money. I'm tired of checking my bank account and ain't no money there. And remember this too. What's spiritual to you don't mean it's spiritual to somebody else. You even recognizing that something is spiritual doesn't mean that somebody else is recognizing it. So let's see what this says. Okay, I looked up this spiritual awareness definition. It is a shift in consciousness in which a person moves from identifying with the physical body and mind to recognizing a deeper connection with the divine or the oneness of the universe. So, spirituality, you're always switching. You may start out in one spiritual aspect and you end up someplace else. It's always a switch. You're always moving forward. There's all kind of things. I can remember, this is something that I'll just share with you. When I was married, and I can remember my ex-husband, he said he always wanted a son or whatever, right? And he was trying to get me to have a son. And I remember he bought me this book. And I don't know what happened to that book. I think I left it in the house when I moved out. So, and we both moved out because we went our separate ways. We were separated and we ultimately ended up divorced. And I remember this book he bought me, How to Choose the Sex of Your Baby was the name of it. And this is what the universe and the spiritual, that was spiritual warfare right there, because for one, it was not meant for me to have sons with that man. I had my sons after that divorce. See how the spirit takes care of us? I guess you could say many sons, right? I have 3 sons. I had 4. I had a stillbirth. So one of my sons died before he was even born. So I would have to count him too. But 3 living sons. And I didn't need a book. You see how the spiritual world works? I did not need a book. I didn't choose what was the name of the book? How to Choose the Sex of Your Baby. And I oftentimes wonder this, because he bought me that book. I used to think, because you know how wicked people think, y'all. Wicked people think fucking shit that we just don't think. And I oftentimes wonder if he thought that I needed that book. Like, oh, she has all sons. After we divorced, she has all sons now. I wonder, did she need I wonder, did she use my book? Because that's how psychopaths think, y'all. They're twisted. And the reason they think that way is because they don't recognize the spiritual world that works for you. I didn't need that book, because it's another thing. Living in spiritual warfare, never forget this. What is meant for you is meant for you. If you do the best you can to live in the best way. And I had made a decision that living in the best way was not staying with my psychopathic ex-husband. I rejected any form of even considering having a son with that monster. Okay. And not to say that it was perfect when I picked or got picked, whatever you want to call it, not to say it was a perfect world with who was meant to be my son's father, but at the same time, I didn't need that book. How to Choose the Sex of what? For one, I don't choose the sex of anybody. The Lord does. I'm not choosing none of that. I don't even know if I really have a right to really be choosing that. I mean, that's almost like playing with life. It goes back to the debate, do we have a right to have an abortion? But people have it. Okay. But even if you abort a baby, it's the gender it's meant to be, girl or boy. It's going to be an aborted girl or an aborted boy. And most people, before they get an abortion, they didn't read some damn book on how to choose the sex of their baby. They just got pregnant. So remember, in a spiritual warfare, because the spirit world will work for you always, because you are a believer, everything that even appears bad will work out for your benefit. Okay? Even if somebody says, you can't see your 8 grandkids, freedom. You don't wake up changing 8 diapers neither. Go get you a business. Go have some fun. Go on a vacation. Stuff like that. So I was telling this story to just give you some examples, because I truly believe in examples of how what man may think you need, you don't need. And I thought about that. I was like, wow, because when I had my last set of kids, and that's all I had was sons, I never forgot that book that my ex-husband bought me on how to choose the sex of your baby. I didn't have that book nowhere around me when I conceived my sons. That book, I don't know where the book went. I remember my ex-husband bought me the book. I don't know if he took the book or what happened. Maybe he knows I didn't use it because he took it. I don't know where the book went, but I know that that book was nowhere in my life when I conceived my sons, because for one, I don't choose the sex of my baby. I just don't do that. And that's your spiritual warfare too. It's surrendering to the fact, because the spirit world works for you, you don't have to choose everything. So you're not always living in a spiritual warfare. And that other spiritual warfare with the attacks from people and the devaluations and the evil things people think and the wicked things people think and do, you don't have to live in that, because you can make solid decisions not to do it. I gave you another example in another video with even my own biological sister that I love so much. Fine, it's no big deal. And that's another thing. Stop feeling like everything is a spiritual warfare, when actually what it is just a situation you don't need to make too big of a deal. Like I used the example in the other video about my sister. It's just simple. I just won't call her real sis. She doesn't need to explain to me whether she likes it or not like it. Just the very fact that she asked me why I do it and didn't have a comment and had like a flat effect voice emotion that had nothing in it, just don't do it. And in that way, you're not in warfare. The quicker you can make a decision to retreat and not get over involved. And I'm going to tell you another thing before I end this video. This will be the last video for Spiritual Warfare Part 4. This will be, because I don't want to emotionally abuse the sister that requested these videos. I don't want to overdo her patience. I mean, my goodness, 4 videos. So, making decisions quicker. Because some things are not a spiritual warfare. It's just actually something that you need to just make a decision on as quick as possible and remove yourself from anything that could lead to toxicity. Oh, the last thing I was going to say is this. This is the ultimate thing that I think that has saved me from a lot of spiritual warfares that I was living in or involved in, or people were trying to drag me into it, or I wasn't at the right place in my life. This is the ultimate thing, y'all, the most important thing that will keep you out of all warfares: physical, spiritual, emotional, financial. You got more than just a spiritual warfare too, sisters and brothers. So the ultimate thing that will keep you out of all of these warfares is having something else to do that's constructive. What's that old saying? An idle mind is the devil's workshop. That's it. Having something else to do. I ain't in nobody's warfare because I'm on this video trying to do the best I can to be the best person that I can be to share my experiences with you so it'll help you. Get you those colored folders like I did over the weekend. I'm going to do some videos at some point about how it's working for me and the order that I'm putting in my life. And just don't forget this last thing I said, okay? So if you're busy enough on your projects, cleaning, your businesses, your job, your family, grooming yourself, ain't no spiritual warfare when you looking good, y'all. Get your skin right, your hair right. What kind of spiritual warfare you having when you fine as you are, or as handsome as you are? Get your appearance together too. It's all about how you feel too. Sometimes you ain't in a spiritual warfare. You just need to get yourself prettied up. And when I say prettied up, I ain't talking about all no bunch of fake stuff. You know, cleaning that spiritual warfare up can also mean going back to things that are more natural. I can't stand eating chocolate chip cookies out of the pack no more. I gotta bake them, y'all. I just gotta feel that dough and bake my chocolate chip cookies. I need some real milk, y'all. Things like that. So stay busy, read energy, feel energy. Don't invest too much of your time in situations that just don't give you the best benefit. Do your prayers. You gotta pray. That will protect you. Prayer will be your ultimate protection.